Today I'm joined by Ivan Rockchuck.
Good evening. Good evening.
He's gonna be giving me a rundown on how to defend properly. And because I made a video like that previously with Yos in Geminator, and Rockchuck has been participating in different esports events, has been playing PAS games for like a decade, right?
Yeah, PES 10 was my first one, yeah. So
yeah, that's crazy. So he knows a little bit about this game, and he's streaming as well. You need to check him out on his YouTube and Twitch.
A girl behavior for me, bro. It's a girl behavior for me.
he's annoyed. I mean, I was on full blue for kickoff. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I'm playing against Almez, yeah. Oh, he's finished number 1. I didn't know he finished number 1.
My controls, I changed standing tackle. I don't have a shoulder barge button at all. I changed standing tackle for a circle. My matchup button is X, and if I tap matchup twice, it's also a standing tackle. Auto pressure is this left shift L2. So these are the controls that you need to know, but the game is very automated, and as far as I'm concerned, players will be tackling on their own. So what is the idea? Obviously, I try to relearn, reteach myself to switch with this right stick, and that's where I'm struggling the most, like switching to the proper player right in time. So maybe some tips on what am I supposed to do in this scenario, like in the middle of the pitch. Would you say that I'm supposed to like match up or like be a little bit more aggressive, and how do you approach this?
Well, what you said a couple of moments ago about, players are kind of automatic and they'll tackle for you. For the most part, when you're going for a tackle, you want to just be holding matchup to initiate the tackle, because once the opponent gets really close to you, like just hold matchup there and I'll run at you. And then without pressing,
you hold matchup and a run, or like matchup with just jogging, with just a left stick?
I would use matchup as, if you've ever played FIFA, it's like a jockey button. So you're not holding it for the entire time, but when I'm about to pass you, that's usually when matchup, you press it or hold it. And
so
then,
it's just left stick and matchup, right? So I'm not using dash to matchup.
yeah, usually, like if you hold matchup and sprint at the same time, dash, I don't do it, so I don't actually know exactly what happens. I don't know if
so that's a bad idea. Okay, so I'm learning now already. So I usually, before, I used to like run into a player with auto pressure like this, and at the end I'm changing to matchup. So I don't know if that's a good idea to defend. So I'm trying to create pressure, and then I'm running into you, and then here I'm using matchup. So that's how I tackle. Or if I'm very aggressive, I'm using standing tackle at the end of my run. Run into you, standing tackle. But that's I usually give away a lot of free kicks like that too. So
yeah, like I use stand tackle, not as much as I used to, but it's for the fact that I can't get my fingers onto the button quick enough half the time. But really, 90% of the time, just holding matchup when you want to do a tackle will work for you. To do a stand tackle, if you want it to be more effective, or if it's going to be a situation where it is better than matchup, it's usually when there's just more distance between you and the player. So matchup isn't going to jump into a player and tackle. It's only if the opponent tries to pass you. Whereas stand tackle is if your opponent isn't trying to pass you, but you think you can get your foot in to take the ball off them, then you can press stand tackle and get it. Or if you're kind of behind or sideways to your opponent and you think you can sneak your foot in. Matchup again, if you're behind to the side, because the opponent isn't going directly by you, it's not going to kick in and activate. You're going to need to press stand tackle in those situations.
okay, interesting. So would you say that 90% of like your defensive situation scenarios, you're like just positioning the player, switching to a player, and using matchup? So you rarely use auto pressure like this. You rarely do this.
Yeah, I never use that. I don't even know what button I have it set to. I assume it's holding X, but I'm not sure. Because if you just think about it, what that is doing is it's just charging the player. But you can just do that yourself manually, and you can.
Yeah, I know. I do that manually if I know that my player is gonna be running like a moron and I need to cut angle. Like for instance, right now with Bernardo, like this is only done by manual dashing. But if I just run, it's a little bit. Sometimes it's useful to let AI control the player, run into like a target, lock onto a player, right? Like I'm locking onto you with this auto pressure, but it's easy to beat because I'm just. Yeah, you can turn around easily.
You're always running in a straight line at me, so I can just shift my player like left and right and throw you off. One advantage to the auto pressure is when you get close, then they will put in a tackle. But with how strong matchup is in this game, you can just change into, instead of holding auto pressure then or dashing at your opponent, you can just switch into holding matchup. And matchup is very forgiving. You don't really have to be skilled at timing. when you hold matchup to do a tackle, it's like there's like a force or a shield around you, an area, a cone, and once the opponent, like I'm holding matchup there to take the ball off you. Suarez.
Okay. So that tackle wasn't, you didn't do like a stand-in tackle, or you didn't do at a pressure. It's only matchup and your manual position of player, right?
Yeah, so I was normally running around, kind of seeing where you were going, and then once I saw we're within, touching range of each other, and I can see Suarez's foot is going to reach the ball potentially, I hold matchup, and then it'll take the ball. And the thing is, it's very rare that your opponent skips by your player when they're holding matchup. Like the game really does hold your hand there. And
Okay,
even
so
Suarez
matchup is like the
tackling.
most overpowered defense option then, right?
Yeah, definitely. And
Okay.
but it's just because of how forgiving it is. Because if you try to do a normal manual stand tackle, and you think your opponent's going to dribble to the left, and he actually dribbles to the right, like you're going to get left behind really easily. Whereas in matchup, the game will see that your opponent has actually dribbled to the right, and then it'll compensate for you, and it'll probably get you the ball. And if it doesn't get you the ball, you're not triggering tackle animation, and you're not going to be slowed down and left behind. You're going to be able to follow.
Would you say that what were you doing exactly like right now? Do you hold matchup with your players, or do you like click it like and let go?
So
of the
yeah,
button
at the
during-
moment now I'm just pressing dash, and then once I'm in this area here, I'm like once we're in tackle range, I'm holding matchup and literally just holding it, taking my finger off, sprint, and I'm still following you with my left stick. Like this is
Okay.
all holding matchup. See, I'm holding matchup there. I'm still following on my left stick. The reason you hold matchup is when the game thinks it's appropriate for you to take the ball, it'll do it for you. You don't have to choose your moment to tackle. The game will choose it for you because you're holding matchup.
So you hold matchup like I
Yeah,
would
and
say
there, again.
most of the time when you're close to the player.
Yeah, when I'm
It's not like
either.
it's not like you're trying to time your tackle. Right now, I was trying to like click on that all the time. So, but you would say it's more useful just to run around with matchup on and allow AI then to make magic work.
Yeah, so essentially you're holding matchup anytime you're trying to initiate an interception or a
Okay.
tackle. Because also interceptions, if the ball is passed by you and you don't hold matchup, your player is very likely to just watch it roll by them. But if you're hold matchup, it's essentially you telling the game, I'm ready to kind of watch this pass and intercept. So
Okay, let me try it then. Let me try it. I'm switching to Petit here. Okay,
See?
I think I did it.
Yeah,
I did
see?
exactly what you said. Okay, let me try and attack you. Let me see how you defend with matchup then.
Gonna pass like that, it's easy.
Ref, bro, a little bit confusing because game gives you so many options, and what I notice online, people use like either allow AI to defend, and they just bring like Haaland, Messi back, and they just try to be annoying and tackle you from behind or shoulder charge you, and they give away like free kicks, but these are like disrupting your flow and maybe preventing you from creating like dangerous situations when you're on the ball. Other type of opponents is when they quickly switch to a player and aggro pressure you. And this is my experience. I'm still like I think I'm playing for like 5 months in general, like on console, on the sticks. I'm not really that good, but I'm getting better. And my problem is that it is so effective. This auto pressure is so effective. But then I guess it just a matter of being good at left stick dribbling.
Because you're talking there about how, relentless pressure, you've seen your opponents do it. Pretty much when I'm defending, I want to have someone pressuring the ball all the time. And then when your opponent is getting pressured, they're going to try pass it. So ideally, I want second man press to pressure the ball and then me to cover the potential passes. Because that means you can kind of push your opponent into areas they don't want to be, and you can trap them into corners, and then either they play the pass and you're there in position to intercept, or if they don't feel like they can play the pass, your second man pressure is on top of the player. And then most importantly, when your second man pressing your opponent, when you think they're very close and they could get the ball, you switch into them, pressure the opponent with the AI. But once you want to do the tackle, you have to, if you want to be effective, switch into the player that's second man pressing, and control them and then hold matchup. Because it's very easy, if your opponent's just holding or just using second man press, it's very easy to dribble by them. Because similar to what we were saying about holding the manual pressure button, they're just charging at you in a straight line. It's very easy to kind of sidestep them, and then what that does is, if you can beat them, they're leaving a massive gap in behind. So what you want to do is put pressure on your opponent pretty much all the time with second man press, and then when you think you can take the ball off them, you switch into the player that's second man pressing and then try tackle. And then one thing that a lot of people struggle with is player switching. They can't switch to the player they want, and they really get frustrated. It's something I've never really related to, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is when you second man press, there should be a kind of grayed out arrow above that
Oh
player.
yeah, I turned it off. Yeah, there's an indicator. I also wanted to ask you about the switching and that indicator. So you would prefer that indicator to be on to see that
Oh,
the
that
next
indicator,
player...
yeah, has to be on. I use semi-assist because I genuinely want to be in control as much, because if I use assisted, if I'm trying to manually pick players, there could be a split second where the game switches for me, and then I
And
also
then
switch
in
manually, and then
that
it's double
moment,
switch.
you also want to see. Yeah, I noticed that it happened to me as well. Like right now, I was using semi-auto. I wasn't really struggling a lot. Thank you for subscribing. I got a notification. I need to turn this off, man. And then I have semi-assist. Now I have semi-assist. Before I had semi-auto, and then the indicator that was, I think it was next player indicator, right? So I turn it on then. Next player indicator. So it will help me now to see what kind of player is going to be performing the second man press, right? Correct?
Yeah, it'll tell you two things. It'll tell you who should be second man pressing, and also it'll tell you can switch between using L1 to switch if that's your controller settings, or you can use the right stick. You should be using both, because you'll notice with that next player indicator, like I can see on my screen, Berezi actually keeps switching, but every time you pass, it'll switch who the next player indicator is. If I want to switch into that player straight away, all I have to do is press L1. I don't have to, use the analog stick and manually switch to him. So I'm always looking at the pitch and seeing who's my next player indicator, and what players
Oh
would I
yeah,
want to
it's
switch
actually
into.
useful. Now I can see it. Yeah, it's actually a good one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
understand.
if you wanted to just use L1 switching, every time you press L1, it'll be whoever's that grayed out arrow will be the player it switches into.
For me, like,
And
look,
then-
if you see, people gonna see the controller in my hands, and they see that I'm struggling to teach myself, relearn the switching with the right stick, and I think that's essential, right? That's key to being good at defending, being able to switch to the right player in the right time and predict the pass.
Yeah, and another thing about this next player indicator is if you press second man press, if you press L1 now, it should switch into Neymar. For the first 2 or 3 seconds, I feel like every time you press second man press, if you press L1, it'll switch into that player. I have noticed a few instances, if let's say my player, I send Mateus to second man press, and he's been doing it for 5 seconds. Sometimes if I press L1, then it won't always switch into Mateus, but if you do it right after pressing second man press, when you press L1, it'll switch into the player. And this is very important, because if you use second man press pretty much all the time like I do, you can potentially leave gaps in behind. And that's particularly going to happen is if you press second man press and it chooses to press with a player that you didn't actually want. So what I'm constantly doing is...
So that indicator definitely helps to at least to get an idea which player is going to be involved in that second man press. Because it's usually it's more useful to have someone like an attacker to join this second man press compared to maybe a midfielder or defender who's going to be leaving gaps behind him. So you would want to probably to avoid it.
Yeah, so, and then actually, I'll just give you the ball. Oh, game over. Actually, never mind. We're gonna have to go.
We can play one
game.
more. I mean, it was really interesting for me. I mean, I want to rewatch that myself, because the amount of info you're supplying me is just it's hard to comprehend at the same time playing. I'm gonna be rewatching that. I'm pretty sure people who are watching this video are gonna be also interested. Now the game doesn't forgive you running with matchup on, and players get nutmegged or cannot intercept the ball properly. Do you agree with that statement, or do you think it's still overpowered?
Well, to be honest, I would agree, because I actually would never have... Well, I would never have even tried it. In my head, it's always you're using sprint or matchup. If you use both at the same time, I didn't really understand what was going to happen. I've never even tried it. So it's obviously it doesn't work.
You don't want AI to let tackle, but you would want to switch and tackle manually.
Yeah. But if you leave it a few seconds, then it doesn't always switch into the player that's second man pressing. But if you do it straight away, it will. So sometimes, you're trying to press your opponent, and then your fullback charges from, far back, leaving a big gap.
That is that was my biggest issue. When two players, you engage into a tackle, do you press something actually stand-in tackle or something? But if matchup is just enough to do that, to achieve that, that's more than that's all you need to know, pretty much. That's pretty much defending in a nutshell.
I would say the two biggest takeaways we've said so far are just whole matchup for your tackles, and if you want to use your second man press, if you feel like the wrong player is getting activated, if you just press L1 really quickly, it'll switch in, and then you can just get them back into position and stop the second man press.
Sure. Okay, let's see if I can stop this attack then. Nah.
Blitz Metzi! Ah, blocked.
Blitz curler. Okay, let's start my attack. Let's see how good. No! Okay, I thought he was playing on a small screen, so I barely can see anything. Okay, okay.
Oh, I think he's offside. Offside. I wanted it for Suarez.
You obviously use quick counter, so your defensive line is high. So do you meet them high up the pitch, or like do you wait for them to approach your like defensive line and then tackle, start being more aggressive?
To be honest, for me, it's always I just want the ball back straight away. So I'm always just trying to put pressure on the opponent, and the reason you're doing that is you're trying to force them into a decision. If you give him more time, he can probably just pass around you. But every time you press, you force them in a position. But the thing is, the first engagement you have, like the first bit of pressure, he's going to have loads of options to pass or dribble. Second one, a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. And then eventually he won't have an option because you've just kind of relentlessly put pressure on him, forced him into decisions. And because he was forced, he didn't get to make the decisions he really wanted to make. And then he's going to make a mistake and you can exploit.
Okay, and sliding tackle sometimes... Okay, by the way, that was matchup. Okay, that shouldn't be... Oh, offside, ref! So
no,
you use sliding tackle a lot as well, I noticed, and I use it too. I noticed that it's so useful because every player, like on mobile, you cannot force Messi to make a sliding tackle like in the middle of the park just to intercept the pass. On console, every player does that. I noticed that's a big difference. So unless your player really needs to have sliding tackle skill.
Yeah, particularly for intercepting passes. I think if you don't have the slide tackle skill, there's a risk that your player will go to the ground and the ball will kind of just go over them. But if you have the skill, you'll kind of feel it when you try intercept the pass with the slide tackle that the ball kind of is like a magnet towards your player, and it kind of goes into their path very nicely. In terms of slide tackles in general, I wouldn't say like they're a major part of my game, but I do use them particularly. You know how this game works when you play a through ball into your striker or your winger, and even if they're really fast, your first touch slows them down a lot, and they can't break free even if it's Mbappe. And then also when they take that first touch, when they take that first touch, they won't be able to take another touch to change direction for maybe a half second or a full second. That's usually a good window if you're a little bit behind to hit the slide tackle because you know the ball isn't going to move until he makes that next touch. So you know you're not going to really foul them. The risk of slide tackling is that your opponent, changes direction. You go through the back of him and you get sent off. But particularly when there's a heavy first touch, the ball's not going to move direction for a half second. There's a window there for you to slide tackle.
So you like doing sliding tackles in the box? You're like
maybe not in the box.
Dangerously.
No, maybe not in the box. I'd probably have an exception there, but outside the box, when you're getting counter attacked, it can really snuff it out.
My options are pretty limited, so you know the player that I'm gonna be giving the pass to, and you instantly know that you need to switch to the defender, anticipating to intercept before I even receive the ball, so that I don't have time to execute either a dribble or a pass. My thrown goal, I can't believe it. Of course, Butler, bro, get him.
You need to get that. You need to get that new Neymar, Alex. The Santos one doesn't score there.
Nah, this one is good. He has 90 finishing. It's not. I think it's just I bottled the chance.
There's two types of player switching: player orientated and ball orientated. I don't see any benefit of ever using ball orientated manual cursor change type. You should pretty much always use player orientated, and the main reason for that is I'm going to switch to ball orientated now and kind of show you why. So now that I'm on ball orientated, you'll notice that whenever I switch the ball, you can see the white line is coming out of the ball. It's not coming out of my player now. So if you just keep the ball there for a second, if I want to switch to Roberto Carlos, my left back, how do I do it? I'm going to have to really hold it long to switch over because it's always coming out of the ball. So if I wanted to switch over to a player that's just really far away from the ball, I have to hold the switch really long in that direction and be accurate with it. Whereas if we change back to player-orientated switching, and now that I'm on player-orientated switching, when Alex goes to his, like, let's say his left back, and I want to switch to my left back, instead of, having to really hold it for long and be accurate, and then there's like 3 players in the way that I could potentially switch to, I can just switch to my centre-back and then switch into Roberto Carlos really quickly. Because the ball, or the player switching, when you can see the line, escape the challenges, essentially, like, because this game has a reputation of, it's constant pressure, 90 minutes of just chasing after the ball, That's very easy. If your opponent isn't very high skilled, it's very easy to work around that. So just kind of press the ball really hard here. Just constantly use second man press and get as much pressure on me. So every time you do that, I can just kind of rotate the ball, recycle it around, and then you're gonna. Oh shit! That's.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe there is my chance. Okay, I got give the blow instantly.
So every time you press me, see how Koundé, look at Koundé, big gap, and now we're in. Look, we're in straight away. So you just want to recycle the ball around. Every time you notice, okay, my opponent's right back has come out of his position to press. The gap is likely to be there, so you should be working the ball around to find the right back's out position. If it's the left back, then work the ball to find the left back out position, etc., etc.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, that was very educational for me, at least. I know for sure, and I'm pretty sure people who have been watching learned something too. Because Konami gives you so many options. AI defense is also feeling like people who have good defenders, they don't really apply any, much effort. They just like let AI defend, and sometimes it also works out well for them. But manually switching to the correct player in the right time. Now we know the best way to semi-auto. For you it was semi-assist. You can experiment with two. And also the cursor, so that you see which player is about to perform the second man press, is actually kind of useful. So I turned it on during this episode as well. And yeah, I'm pretty sure people will find it useful. And if they did, I encourage them to check Ivan out and subscribe to his channel. He streams almost a few times a week, and yeah, makes a lot of eFootball content for console. And yeah, hope you found it useful.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Alex. And I have got the setup to play mobile now, so I think you're gonna have to, you know, teach me the mobile side of things sometime soon, and I can learn on that too.
Yeah, it would be my pleasure, of course. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Peace. Bye.